Hello, Carolyn. Welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was excited to connect generally. And obviously, we did a podcast together on your podcast. So I will link that in the show notes for people to just listen to all the things that we have to share. And obviously, yeah,
Yeah,
you have a podcast with lots of info. But if people don't know who you are, don't know what it is that you do, can you just share a little bit?
sure. I am Dr. Carolyn Solo. I am an EMDR intensive therapist and EMDR consultant in Vermont. I'm also a business coach for therapists who want to launch EMDR intensives in their practices. And I have my own podcast all about EMDR intensives called the Future Template Parent Podcast, which probably has meaning to people who do EMDR, but basically the idea that intensives for me as a mom have really given me freedom to design the life that actually works for me and my family. So all about that. Of course, non-parents, I think, can benefit too, but certainly I bring that lens as a mom of three. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And it's all the different solutions that intensives offer, not just for our therapy clients, but for us as therapists as well. Like I have fur babies and like that's already enough. Those who have one child, three children, that's a lot. And you certainly can't work in the same way that someone who, is childless can. Like your hours need to be different, your capacity is different. So is that what initially got you into intensives?
Yes. And I talk about this very openly on the podcast, so I'm happy to share. But my oldest daughter, who is 9, will be 10 in August. When she started kindergarten, she was always highly sensitive from birth. But she was our first child, so we also didn't know. It was like, it's just how kids are.
Right.
But kindergarten was a really difficult transition, and she got diagnosed with autism in, I guess, November of that year right after she started kindergarten. And just the amount of appointments, IEP meetings, times I was getting called to pick her up from school because she was having a hard time just exploded. And, I had a totally full, very traditional private practice at that point. I was like canceling appointments all the time. I was getting super burned out. I actually ended up taking a 2-month medical leave for myself
Yeah.
during that time because I was like, I can't, I'm losing it. I was getting horrible insomnia, which I hadn't had in years. And so during that time that I took off, I was already, I was in consultation to become a consultant for EMDR. And one of my consultants was talking about intensives, and saying like, this could be something you could try. Maybe this will be something that can really help you manage this. And I'd already heard about intensives a little, but I was like, who am I to do these? I don't know anything. But
Uh-huh.
it was sort of a crisis where I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to try this until I came back from my leave and I just started offering them to current clients. I had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm.
Made a lot of mistakes, figured it
Mhm.
out along the way. But now, but I realized very quickly there's no other way I can work. This is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that was my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
her
I
needs
think
have
they
changed too. So, it's not like
yeah.
her needs or my other two kids' needs have changed.
Yes. Yes. And so you being able to really embrace intensives and just go all in on it on your practice has helped you to, be more available for whatever comes up for your kids and your family.
Yeah, and let me tell you, specialized care for a special needs kid is very expensive.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what insurance you have. And it's so
Mhm.
important for me to provide her and all my children with what they deserve. But that money doesn't come out of nowhere. And I
Yes.
firmly believe in paying specialists what they deserve to be paid. So I want to
100%.
pay someone who's well compensated for what they're providing my children. But, that money doesn't grow on trees. So,
Exactly. As much as we wish it did.
yeah, not to mention just like buying eggs, it's all that.
Seriously. Yeah. So yeah, you jumped right into intensives. What
Yeah.
were some of the lessons you learned along the way as you just started offering it?
Certainly, well, I certainly wasn't charging enough at the beginning. I was
Hmm.
charging $25 more an hour than I was for my regular. My private practice rate at the time was, oh no, $50. It was $175 for a 50-minute session, and I started charging $225 an hour for an intensive, for a 3-hour intensive, which I was like, whoa, look at me go, that's so much. And I just like came up with this random package. I was like, 3-hour intensives over 2 weeks. Like, I just sort of pulled it out of the air.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Actually, it gave me a sense of the power of what I could do in that time.
Yeah.
But over time, I have figured out exactly what works for me. But pricing, I priced it way too low. And I wasn't being intentional about how I was structuring the rest of my practice to make space for intensives. And that was a learning curve because at first it wasn't helping me that much lighten the load because I hadn't thought through that part. So that was a little bit bumpy, and I had to terminate with some clients, and that didn't go as smoothly as it could have. I don't think I did anything, unethical, the big word that everyone's afraid of, but sometimes I didn't feel good. So things like that, I think. And yeah, I think I had a lot of imposter syndrome. So I took a lot of extra trainings, which I'm not saying were bad, but I think I paid a lot of money that I didn't need to pay. And I did a lot of things that, I bought these courses that I never finished and like all this stuff. So yeah, things like that. And not really thinking through like what I even thought an intensive structure looked like. Just sort of being like, they're longer sessions, which I'm not saying isn't valuable because it is. But I think part of the process is coming up with a structure and a treatment plan that works for you really well as a clinician. And so that's been a learning curve.
Yeah.
So, but that was 4 years ago. So I've come a long way. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I've always said to myself and other therapists is the best you're going to learn is in what you do. Like anyone could lay out, here is the structure and here's what you do and here's what you think about it. But if it doesn't work for you, something comes up with your specific training or clientele, like everything you learn is going to be a matter of like trial and error, like actually learning what you want to do differently. And I think a lot of that is also dependent on how you do run your intensives. And I think you do a little bit more from what I understand. Like, do you do multi-day intensives like across a week?
Yeah, I now do 3 days, ideally a week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's like more or less 2.5 hours, hour break for lunch, 2.5 hours. I like to have a day between if I can. And that doesn't include the 90-minute intake. And then I have like a follow-up session a month later, but that's the structure. And again, it's not the structure that I say everybody has to do. It's what I really like doing. And therefore it works because I really like doing it. And it's very flexible. I can make it be a lot of different things depending on the client.
Yeah, exactly. Which is part of the whole benefit of these intensives, is that they are tailored to what the client is going through, what their goals are, and ultimately what works for you too.
Totally.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the piece of where you're living now, because I know you recently moved, so now you're a little bit more in a rural area. How are you finding marketing intensives where you're currently at?
Yeah, so in July of 2024, so it will be 2 years this July, the day before my youngest daughter turned 3, we moved from the close suburbs of Philadelphia. So we were like, I could walk to Philadelphia from my house. So we were, and urban, very urban, to a town of under 5,000 in northern Vermont. And this had been something that my husband and I started thinking about during COVID, of course. And it took us about 4 years to figure out the logistics because it's a big thing on a lot of levels. But it's something that we had wanted to do for a long time. But it meant uprooting my family of 5. My youngest started preschool when we moved. My middle started kindergarten, and my oldest we had to homeschool because the transition was way too much for her. So, it was a huge amount of transition. We've actually moved twice. Long story, lots of stuff happening. And I took 3 full months off from work during that transition because I was like, we don't even know what our childcare is. Plus, I really need to be present for my family. That was a lot easier because of intensives to take time off from work, by the way.
Yes.
Didn't have many ongoing clients and it wasn't a huge financial hit in the same way. Um, but then the reality was I had a really established network in Philadelphia
Hmm.
and I had to, and for me, most of my intensives are in person. I have done a couple of virtual intensives, but that is not my preference.
Hmm.
So I had to figure out how to rebuild that practice here where I didn't really have any connections. So yeah, and it was bumpy at first, of course. And I had come up with some things to kind of help me bridge the gap in a lot of ways, but um, I really have leaned into two things in terms of marketing. It's a small community, so word of mouth and trust is huge. I
Hmm.
mean, that's true everywhere, but like Vermont is a place where like literally everybody knows everybody. Like it's really true. You
Uh-huh.
see the same people working at the grocery store. You see the same, like you see everyone. I've only been here 2 years and I can't go anywhere without like seeing 5 people I know at least. So it's just a very small community, which trust is always paramount, but like when you actually are a part of a community, like in a very like integrated way, it really, really matters. So I immediately started, as soon as I got here, I immediately started networking with therapists that were local. Like I just
Hmm.
like went to Psychology Today, made a list, started reaching out to people, following up with people, like finding out who were the psychiatrists in the area. And I really cast a wide net, I would say, like throughout the state because it's a
Hmm.
small state. So that's one thing. And I continue to do that. I always tell therapists I work with, like marketing is not like let's do a 3 month sprint and then you're done. Like it's a part of your job as a therapist,
Yes.
especially if you're trying to attract high ticket clients,
Hmm.
right? I tell them I market all the time. Like I haven't stopped. Like I'm always
Hmm.
working on it.
Yep.
So there's that. And then the other piece is, as you know very well, website stuff, SEO, AIO, or whatever it's called now. um, and so I'm always tweaking my website. I just did a major website overhaul a couple months ago. Um, I will say that I outsource most of that because one, I don't enjoy it. Two, I'm not good at it. Those are the main two reasons.
Yeah.
And I have someone I really trust who's fantastic, that's like, this is his thing. So that's what he does. But
Perfect.
like, that means I'm always investing in it, right? I pay
Hmm.
money every month to him for
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Um, but it has a huge dividends, right? Time over. So, and I will say about that, part of what I do, and this, I don't think just applies to me, but I think it's something to think about if people are, not everyone thinks about this. I think about my intensive, I live in basically like next to a resort town, essentially. So part of my marketing is to like the New England area and like the tri-state region even, which is like New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, as like this is somewhere you can come for a like retreat experience, basically.
Hmm.
Like, so, and when that does happen, I help people find like a place to stay. I give them recommendations for like if they want, you know, a massage on one of the days off, like if any, what places to eat, all that stuff. Um, so that's certainly very much a part of my marketing. And also, I love the outdoors. Like that's one of the reasons we moved here. So I kind of bring that into my marketing too, as like we can integrate that into your experience. Whether it's in the intensive itself, or if you want recommendations for like what's a great hike to go on the day between, to like we talk about hiking is natural bilateral stimulation, yada yada.
Hmm.
So that's been very much a part of my marketing too. And I kind of, my website, I changed sort of the look of it and the pictures and all that to really reflect that experience, plus all the, SEO updates for being in a new location and Google My Business and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would say those are the main things. And um, something else people ask me about a lot is social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, personally, social media has been much more of a revenue driver for my coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
I still have it for my private practice because I know that it can like, it's sort of like part of the ecosystem. And
Yes.
I think it's like a trust building thing that people can like go there, but I don't use that as my way to get intensive clients.
Yeah.
I think it, and I think it's going to continue. My understanding is like bolster, you know, AIO ranking, whatever. I don't even know, but like you know,
Yes.
I think that that is why I do it. And it's so integrated into my routine at this point that I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't take me very long. Well, it can't hurt, but I'm not relying on that. So that's something I do like to tell people. Like I wouldn't rely on that as
Mm-hmm.
this unless you're a real unicorn and maybe it works for some people, but it's not. That's not been my experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think especially like one of the whole points of social media is, to be entertained and like to see something fun or connective. And I
right,
think generally I'm starting to see this shift anyway more in 2026 of people who are, we're no longer posting like 3 reasons why you should start therapy or 5 tips for blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of it is more relatable content and
yeah,
pain point driven and hope point driven. But especially I think with intensives, because a lot of like the lay clientele out there don't know that word exists. It's not gonna stop the scroll of like, here's why you should do an intensive. They're like, I don't know what that is, and they're gonna keep
right,
scrolling by.
exactly,
So
right,
might need some more creative marketing if you're going to try that. But I agree. I really don't use my therapy account for marketing, even my therapy practice, because I've never really seen it convert in that way. But SEO
yeah,
has been the huge thing for me. And yeah, certainly depending on where you live and who your ideal client is in contact with, all of the networking things that you mentioned too can be just a good way to build that trust and be the person that someone refers to.
right. And I would say something else about networking, and this is true everywhere, but I don't just network with therapists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to other providers who are going to, have a similar clientele, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because, like, not only do I try to connect with those people, like, I use their services, honestly. Like, there's a massage therapist in my building. I get massages from her.
Mm-hmm.
She's good. She's very good,
Yeah.
but it also benefits me
Yes.
in that, like, it's not just like a give and take, but like I actually know this person and trust this person and she values me. And like, so I think those are important things. Like one of my sort of niche populations is parents of neurodivergent kids, just
Mhm.
because it is a really difficult experience to parent neurodivergent kids in a world that's not built for them.
Yes.
So I talk to teachers, I talk to kid therapists, I talk to OTs, I talk to speech therapists, people who work with those kids and to see that their parents need support. So it's not just other therapists. That's
Yeah.
something else I would say is vital.
Hmm. Yeah. Being more creative in
Mhm.
how you're reaching different people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be really organic. Like you can just like, I don't know, strike up a conversation with somebody at a coffee shop. Like I don't know. That used to be very nerve wracking for me, but I think I've kind of just had to get over it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and the things that you're really afraid of don't usually happen. I
Hmm.
think when it comes to a lot of like any of marketing, but we all have a lot of fears
Yeah.
about what could happen, and it's very unusual that one of those fears comes true. That's been my experience.
Yes. Yes. Same. I'm curious because I've been subleasing an office in Seattle for my intensives, but I just finally got my own office and um, they do weekly like happy hours, co-working kind of, it's like a co-working
Okay.
space. So there's going to be
Uh-huh.
more opportunities for networking. And I'm like, this is finally the year where like, I know I don't need to because all of my SEO stuff works, but like, I am curious to push myself to try some more
Yeah,
networking just to like put
can't
my name
hurt.
out there more. Exactly. So I'll keep everyone updated on how that goes for me as an introvert to finally push
Do
myself
it.
out there.
Do it.
So I'm excited about that. But one of the, these fears that you're talking about around marketing and especially the intensives, especially for the therapist who wants to offer a multi-day, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a Friday through Sunday, whatever it is, intensive, the biggest fear I hear from therapists is around like, no one's going to want to pay my price, or they're going to think
Right.
I'm, greedy or insulting or whatever it is. And can you speak to that part as someone who
Sure.
offers multi-day intensives and what you've seen?
Yeah, and I will say that, like I was saying earlier, that I started by charging $225 an hour. Now my intensive is $6,000, whatever that math works out to. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
remember. That's just the
Yeah.
price I've set, like the whole package, you know? And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have like practically thrown up if I heard myself say that. So
Yes.
it's been a journey to get there, I will say. But I also want to
Yes.
encourage other therapists not to let it take as long as it did for me, because it's not necessary.
Yeah.
um, but I think that there are so many reasons why it is worth that. And I think lots of therapists, you can come up with, I mean, I could list them, but it's almost like we know them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are not paying, someone's not paying for the hour, they're paying for the transformation, and they're paying for our expertise, which we accumulate in countless ways over the years, starting with grad school and going forward. The amount we pay and have paid, like all that, that is so much, for one. Two,
Mm-hmm.
the amount that gets done in that time far exceeds what you get done in like a year of therapy, even more, who knows, right? It's hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Um, I think that there are just costs that come along with running a really elevated business, which I think intensives are. Like, you need a nice office, you need good marketing, like all that stuff costs money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I also think that when we have that financial freedom, it gives us, well, there's so many things. You can show up really well for the client when you're not worried about your finances.
Yeah.
Um, you can actually contribute meaningfully in other areas of your life that are, the giving back thing that we're all afraid that we're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so all of that I say just because I think it's important for us as therapists to be grounded in that before we say what we're charging. And
Yes.
like knowing your why, like I talked about my why. Like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
live a life that's different than this, so I have to be this way. And so I think keeping all that in mind is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And then just really practicing saying your fee in a really grounded way, not over explaining it, not starting to say, oh, but if you can't pay that, then da, da, da. No, just so this is $6,000. That's my
Mm-hmm.
fee. It includes this and this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
currently booking for this time. What questions do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And like, know that you're going to feel scared
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But I also think that what's good for one of us is good for all of us. If there are therapists who are setting that bar, it's elevating all of us.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to be the therapist who's lowering the bar for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so many of us have these money stories, like, for so many reasons, like, we all know this. You talk about it very eloquently on your podcast. Those are not good reasons to make something cost less.
Yes.
And we also need to trust that people can make an investment that they feel is worth it. Like, they can decide. They're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to say no, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. And I've had people say to me, I don't know if I can afford that, and come back 6 months later and be like, you know what? I decided I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it feels difficult at first, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's hard. Like, this week on Instagram, I got some mean comments on a reel that I made about like being greedy and inaccessible, and I'm harmful, and like, blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't even, I just leave them up now and don't respond to them, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I'll engage in this good engagement. And
Yeah.
two, like, those people don't know me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know them also, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yes.
their reality. They don't know my reality.
Yeah.
And Instagram is not the place to explain it to them.
Um,
Because I know a lot of therapists fear being called out, right?
yes.
But I also remind myself that, like, every time that's happened, nothing bad has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Just those are my thoughts in general on that. And it's our responsibility as clinicians to do what we need to do to be well and to show up.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Literally in
Like
most
I
of our
remember,
ethical code lines, take care of ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know about you, but like I'm not a trust fund baby, so.
Nope.
And even if somebody were a trust fund baby, I still say charge what you want to charge. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're right to
Exactly.
do so. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know why we as mental health clinicians are supposed to be the ones who sacrifice ourselves for our work.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. I was in community mental health for 4 years. Like I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't regret that experience. I learned a ton,
Yeah.
got my licensure out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done my time, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so that's my little
Honestly.
spiel on that.
I love it. I mean, I'm in alignment with all of it because yeah, I think it's great for those people who have the lifestyle and the financial privilege to care about the version of accessibility via the definition of low cost therapy. But not all of us have that privilege, whether it's family and childcare or not being trust fund babies or having significant amount of debt. Like we all have our reasons for why when we look at intensives or even just premium fees, if you like sticking to the weekly model and don't want to do intensives, like there's a reason we're excited by what can I charge actually and how can I get clients who are willing to pay that, which is because they're realizing their life is not working for them with $100 fee, $150 fee. Like a lot of us need significantly higher to do the work well, to do it
Uh-huh.
sustainably, and to we also deserve good lives too, not just to give and not really actually receive the benefits from all the hard work that it is to run your own practice.
Yeah. Not to mention taxes, running our own businesses. It's expensive. Paying for our own
Yes.
healthcare. I
Uh-huh.
mean, and something else I always remind therapists of is like, that's your why, and it's also no one else's business.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to tell somebody that. Like, they're not entitled to know that about you. And that's
Yes.
coming from your own feeling, like projection and guilt and stuff. That's for
Yes.
you to hold, to ground you, but it's
Mm-hmm.
nobody else's. Like I said before, if you are a trust fund baby, I don't care. That's your
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
Charge 6,000. That's your business.
Yeah.
I have no idea what your life is like.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's because I think we feel like we have to justify everything we do. And also what I have found is that doesn't make people more likely to say yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just
Mm-hmm.
makes them feel like now they're in this weird, you put this potential client in a very strange position.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's no need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like trust that they're an adult who will make a decision that's their decision. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. What I have found in my past 3 years of doing intensives is clients don't really have pushback on it. It's more therapists who are not
Oh
in
yeah.
the same level of thinking
Oh
that
yeah.
that we are who have the
Yep.
judgment. But I've had conversations with clients who I charge a slightly different fee for virtual intensives versus in-person intensives because, office rent and it is more time for me to have to get to the office and prepare in that way. And so
Right.
I give clients that choice of like, here's the price for virtual, here's the price for in-person. And some people say, I'd rather save the money, let's do virtual, and great. And some people say, I'd rather do in person, I'll pay a little bit more money, great. Like that
Uh-huh.
is their choice. My job is to give them the informed consent of here are the options, here may be the differences between virtual and in person, and again, to just answer their questions. But it is not my job to explain all of the, here's my rationale behind everything. And like
Or
I've
to
had,
other
Mhm.
therapists.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because like you said, those are the ones who, that's where we mostly get the pushback.
Yes.
Um, and that's why I think it's so important to surround yourself with other therapists who are doing similar things.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have people who are like, no, like I'm doing this and people are paying it and you can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And so the value of that community is so like there's no price you can put on the value of that really.
Agreed.
Like
Yes.
that's been so instrumental in my success.
Yeah. Yeah. The more group spaces I'm in, the more group spaces I facilitate, the more it really just feels like, whether it is a coaching program or a membership or whatever, like when you are surrounded by people who are like you and want to do similar things, like it actually feels very therapeutic compared to
Oh my
the
gosh.
groups that are just so nasty and the random people who just want to call you out and be mean for no reason at all.
I was just saying to my business coach the other day, like, you're like a therapist for my business.
Yes.
I mean, yes, she provides me with incredible strategic advice and all that, but like, she's the person I go to when I'm like, this shitty, sorry, can I swear on the
Yeah,
phone?
100%.
Shitty thing happened. This person said this shitty thing to me, or I did something really dumb and I feel terrible. And she's like, I'm here for you. Like,
Mhm,
and this is part of building a business. And you are not a bad person. You do not need to burn the whole thing down. Even though,
mhm.
I don't know, every 6 months, I probably have one of those moments.
100%. Yeah.
Maybe more, if I'm being honest. But like,
Yeah.
that's why it's so grounding to have somebody like that, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and group spaces, I completely agree. So vital for our own like nourishment and survival and
Yeah.
burnout prevention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, I don't want to let this part slip away because it does feel important. I've heard, as you're talking about, like in your area, a rural area, not only are you maybe targeting people locally, but to be able to target people and market your intensives as like a retreat like experience. I think that's also really helpful for people to hear and remember when they are worried about, no one in my area is going to want to do this, no one can afford it, but you can attract people from higher cost of living or higher income
Absolutely.
areas that are willing to come to travel to do this. So it does not matter where you live and what you think people around you will or won't do. Like when you know what you're doing and how to market these, you can show yourself that these can be successful and that you deserve to have the success in this too.
And it doesn't have to be in a like, you know, Vermont is a certain kind of place that
Mhm.
attracts it. It doesn't have like any rural place has beauty and has
Yeah.
the slowness of life and you can capitalize on that as like, you know, part of
Hmm.
the experience. And
Hmm.
most rural areas are within, you know, driving distance of big metro areas. So like by all
Yes.
means be targeting your marketing towards that, you
Yes.
know. So I don't know. I think it's just all about how you position yourself and making sure that your SEO and stuff is like prime for that,
Hmm.
which you talk about on my podcast, which I'm excited
Yes.
to have everyone listen to because you know all about that.
Yes.
And I fully will say that is like I talk about it some with coaching clients, and like I have some like, I know something about it, but I'm always like there are other people who give you like the lowdown. Like I will give you the basic tips and stuff like that, and little things you can do on your own. But like I do feel like it's worth it to spend to invest in that if that's not something you want to devote your life to learning.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
know,
Yeah. Yes, because it is the more the marketing landscape changes, like we're always going to have the basics of like how do we network and how do we form relationships, and social media you might have to adapt to the algorithm if that's what you want to do, but the more the SEO and AIO and who knows what it's going to look like in even another
a
5 or
year
10 years. Yeah,
seriously. Like three
seriously.
years
So,
ago, the landscape with AI was not even. I was just
yeah,
thinking about this the other, even 2 years ago.
isn't that wild?
It's so wild.
Yes. Yeah.
So like the
So yeah.
whole everything changes all the time, and you may not want to be the person who's keeping tabs on that. And there are people
Hmm.
that's like I have somebody that's who I pay to do that, so I'm not the
Yep.
one doing it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Yes.
so and
Yeah.
and again, premium fees means that I can afford to do that, to pay that to somebody. And I
Yes.
feel really good because I'm paying him a really good rate that he deserves because he's awesome. And I'm not like nickel and diming looking for someone who charges me $10 an hour,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
I love.
again, that's a business building thing. It's taken me time to get to a place where
Yeah.
I can afford that, you
Exactly.
know? But it's a growth. I've been at this for 4 years. It's not like I did it overnight.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot of why I teach people to like DIY the SEO and AIO stuff. So it's like, let's get your business set up so that you can make the money you need so that you don't have to ever touch that again if you
Right.
don't want to.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all that
But I love too, like, even that is a reflection of something you said earlier, like this value of we pay people who know their shit to do it really well. right? So whether that's your therapist, your marketing person, your whatever it is, like if that's actually a value you have, like it's both like what you put out into the world and what you get in return. But yeah, times when I was hiring a virtual assistant from like the Philippines or whoever I can find from Fiverr, like when I was more in scarcity mindset, like yeah, my quality of work in terms of my marketing, like it legitimately wasn't that good compared to now I have VAs I charge between or who charge between 30 and 45 an hour, and it's 100% worth it because they produce quality results and I respect the work that they do. And
you don't have to micromanage them. You're not redoing everything. Yeah, I've been there with and so, but it's like sometimes you need to start with obviously the lower budget option to get your things done, and then you grow. Everything grows. You know, I just invested in a really good new accountant and like tax strategist.
Amazing.
And it's been amazing, but like, there's no way I could have afforded that a few years ago.
Yeah.
Or did I even think I needed it? Honestly. And I probably didn't then, but as my business gets more, like I have two businesses, it's more complex. I'm like adding new revenue streams. That is not what I want to be messing with. Trust me. Nope. That is not my skill set, nor should it be. You know, but I want to pay someone really well because he does a great job.
Yes.
And I trust him and he has integrity and like all that stuff.
Yes.
So, and intensives allow all that to be possible for me, you know? So,
yeah. And right, this is not something that you said too of you don't have to get all these extra trainings to do them. Like I've talked with therapists who are like, oh, I see that there's a training on how to do a brain spotting intensive. Should I take that? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't taken it. I've had one person I know who has gone through it and they're like, I didn't really learn anything extra special. It was more just like thinking through intake and planning processes, but nothing like skills wise, which I think is ultimately like, yes, it's important that you know what your structure is, what your goal is, you have a rough idea of what you're going to do when, but there's nothing that's really, I think, going to teach you the extra special skill to offer an intensive outside of you having the capacity to rest and think and be mindful and prepare. Like that's the hugest thing is the schedule shift to be able to do as
well.
Yeah,
and the space and for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a massively specialized thing. And you can make it what you want it to be and what feels good for you.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate this conversation, and I'm sure, like, you and I just might have to continue showing up on each other's podcasts and just talk about all the different
so many things to talk about.
Yeah,
and I was excited to hear that we're going to be at the same retreat this fall. I'm so excited.
Yes,
that will be fun.
Yeah, anyone who has not signed up for Portland, Maine, come hang out with me and Carolyn and let's talk about intensives.
And all the things.
Exciting. It's gonna be fun. Very cool. You have a couple of things that you want to share with the listeners. So you have an EMDR intensive client workbook. Talk a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so it's a free resource, and it is, I believe it's currently 22 pages, but I'm always like refining it and changing it. It's the workbook that I give to my intensive clients before the 3 days. So like during the 90-minute intake, we talk through it. I give it to them. They complete it beforehand, and it gives us like a really solid foundation to just know exactly what we're doing, get into the work. Gives me a lot of history really quickly, a lot of like for EMDR therapists, a lot of phase 1 and 2 work gets done in that workbook, which is really helpful. And it has pages for like what to do between the days and what do we do on follow-up, and it really helps with treatment planning. It really helps with like tracking what actually gets done during the intensive. And a lot of my clients have said it's a great resource to bring to their therapist afterwards. Because, part of my process is like, this person needs to have a therapist that's not, because I don't see them after we're done.
Yep.
So that's that, and that's totally free. And I, love to answer questions about it. So please, if you want to ask me something about it after you get it, just let me know. And then my podcast is a free resource, of course, it's called the Future Template Parent Podcast. And I'm about to hit 150 episodes. I'm almost at my 3-year anniversary. So there's tons of stuff to listen to about all things intensive. A lot of it is EMDR focused, but a lot of it is relevant to just intensives in general. So like I just recorded an episode about getting called out on social media. That was one. That was actually really fun to record. And then 2, about the kind of support I use in my business. And 3, about how being diagnosed with ADHD in my 40s changed how I think about my business. So those are relevant to like anybody. It's not about EMDR.
I love that. Yes.
So it's all over the map. But and a lot about parenting, like in parenting and being a therapist.
Yeah.
And then paid options. I have currently I'm doing 1-to-1 business coaching, and I have 2 options. You can do a 90-minute intensive with me, like a one-off. And then I also have a 3-month container of like where we meet twice a month. And part of that 3-month container is you get access to my 12-hour video course about intensive. That is included. You can also buy that separately. But like if you do the 1-to-1 coaching, you get that in there. And then I run a group intensive called the EMDR Intensive 12-week intensive, which is a very wordy title that I should change. But and I'm doing my next cohort of that starting in September. And also for people who are EMDR trained, I also have consultation for certification and becoming a consultant packages, and we talk a lot about intensive. And my clinical specialization, besides parents of neurodivergent kids, is actually dissociative identity disorder and dissociation. So I do consultation on that. Those are the things I do currently.
Amazing. For now, right? Yeah. ADHD is all about, let me add another thing and another one and another one.
Oh my gosh, seriously, I didn't even realize that was why I am the way I am until I got diagnosed, and now my life makes a lot more sense. So word to the wise, if you even slightly suspect it, it's worth looking into. I'm disappointed. Don't wait as long as I do. Anyway, well, all that stuff you can have in the show notes, whatever. But
yeah, absolutely. We'll link everything.
DM me on Instagram. I love to chat with people on Instagram, so just reach out to me that way.
Yeah. I'm so much more accessible for like a Instagram DM than if someone emails me. I'm like, it's getting lost along all the other spam and cold emails and things I get. So like, let's just DM.
I know. Please DM me. Like sometimes I'll be like, star that email, and I never come back to it. Like
exactly.
So,
Yep.
Don't rely on email. DMs are the way to go. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you've got lots of helpful ways for people to learn more about intensives, EMDR intensives, and how they can work with you. So we'll definitely list everything in the show notes for people to check that out and connect with you. And I will look forward to, I'm sure we'll probably talk at some point before September, but if not, I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Okay. Take care.